For the first time in our lives, we're going to see Uranus moving through the sign of Gemini, electrifying our sky, changing our reality in dramatic ways. Oh, AI is going to be a big story, but so are UFOs, so are really outside the box storylines. However, with him moving through this part of the sky, we're going to find ourselves really undergoing huge changes in transportation and communications technologies. But I'm also going to talk about the deeper archetypes of Uranus, because when he goes into the sign of Gemini and begins to activate the energies of Neptune in the sign of Aries and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius and Saturn also in the sign of Aries, we begin to explore the deep dive energies of archetypal forces far beyond our individual and collective, individual lives, and move into the sphere of the collective. Yet at the same time, by the way, this is really cool, we're also experiencing stuff to do with what we call the perinatal matrix in archetypal astrology. That is the conditions of your reality as you were in the womb and as contractions started, and then as you were being born and as you were exiting stage left into this world. That is a part of archetypal astrology that shares that these energies in our sky also go back to our birth and how it was when we were being born. I can't tell you the times I look at a client's chart. I see Uranus prenatal just above the ascendant. I go, precipitous labor, erratic labor. Were you born suddenly? Were you conceived accidentally? And they go, yeah, how did you know? Because you can see this stuff in a client's chart. So in this video, we're going to do two things. Number one, we're going to talk with Renn Butler of the Archetypal Universe fame. His book is on my shelf. I never have it not with me. I know everybody here knows about how I love his book. It's sitting right here on my side of my living room seat here. So his book is one of my go-tos. He was my teacher. I studied with him in 2020, I think, 21. For almost a year. If you want to join him this fall and become very deeply acquainted with the amazing field of archetypal astrology, he's an incredible teacher and his classes are super fun. And he'll be talking a little bit about his course with me in the next segment of the video. And in the next segment of the video, we're also going to talk about, after my interview with Renn Butler, and he shares how this Uranus perinatal matrix energy is working for the collective, and Neptune and Saturn and all this juicy stuff. I'm going to go onward after I talk with him, after we do our half-hour video interview, and I hope you'll enjoy that, to talk very quickly about your sign. And what I want to focus on is your triangle. Is it Dharma? Is it Artha? Are you moving? Is Uranus going to electrify you and wake you up? In what area of your sky? Is it about money? Is it about your desires? Is it about your spiritual liberation? We're going to look at the triangle of significance that's being activated for you as Uranus enters for the first time in your life. Well, not necessarily. If some of you were alive in the 1930s and to the mid 40s, you've lived through this. But for most of us, it's the first time in our lives. And we're going to have Uranus moving through Gemini for a frigging 8 years until 2030. 2 or 3, but it's a long transit. He spends 7 years and a bit in a sign. So we have to go through that cycle together. And we're all going to see a lot of changes in the world. Now, I did talk with Adam Ellenbus, one of my other teachers, about this, and his video I will pin in the description box below, where we riffed on the geopolitical and societal consequences of Uranus moving through Gemini. And I did an all signs part for you too, but not focus on what I'm about to focus on today. So for that, you want to go to the timestamps after my talk with Renn. But if you enjoy learning more about astrology and getting to know Renn Butler a little bit, he's going to open up a discount code for you guys, early bird, end of July discount for his course, and just say I sent him. Just tell him I sent you. All right. So if anyone wants to study with him this fall, I think it starts in October. I'd highly recommend him. If you want to study with me, Sky Reader starts in September to the middle of October, and you can study with me for 6 weeks and get the basics of predictive timing tools from Hellenistic astrology. That's completely different astrology than archetypal astrology. You can do both. You don't have to do either. Let's go ahead and talk with Renn Butler, and then we'll do a quickie on your sign. What's being activated? What 3 houses are awake for you in the next 7 years? Just letting Renn Butler into our room today, where we're going to talk about Saturn in our heavens moving through the sign of Aries. And Renn Butler is one of my teachers, author of the Archetypal Universe. And we're going to talk about Saturn and Aries relative to the conversation with Pluto and with Neptune. So we're going to get this show on the road, just waiting for Renn's grand appearance in the waiting room. And finally, Renn has entered the room. Welcome, Renn Butler, to our talk today about Saturn, Neptune, and of course, Pluto, as they are talking to each other in the sky in ways we haven't seen in our lifetime before. And as I said in the beginning, before you got here, you are one of my teachers, and you're the author of the Archetypal Universe, my never far from my hand astrology guidebook. It's very weathered. And I'm so excited to have you talk about this very rare sky that we're going through. So tell us a bit about, before we start chatting astrology, what are you up to these days? What's going on in your astro world?
Great to be here, Lori. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Well, I am working on a new archetypal astrology encyclopedia, and I'm inviting colleagues to participate. I'm hoping even Lori will. I know she's very busy, but would have time to write a few things for it. And it will be looking at thousands and thousands of charts and then organizing them by planetary pair. So like Venus, Pluto people, actors, musicians, directors, writers, athletes, activists, all, like 25 different categories. So it should be a pretty good resource for people learning astrology, with a lot of pictures and captions. And so I'm having fun with that. I'm also making some music videos for songs I wrote 20 years ago, and that's my hobby. So
I love that. We were laughing before we came on camera because that old Alanis Morissette song, "Isn't It Ironic?" We thought we could make a riff called "Isn't It Chironic?" Oh my goodness, Chiron and Aries, like you can't get out of there soon enough. Well, I'm so happy you're here, and we're going to talk about the sky. And I just want your expertise to shine here. I'm not an archetypal astrologer, although I took your amazing course, and it still has informed how I see my life, my dreams, the sky as it intersects with my subconscious mind. Like it was 9 months. Was that how long we were together in that class?
7.
7. It seems like, yeah, it was a long time, and I missed 2 classes. It was during the pandemic. I had nothing else to do, so I am so happy you're here. So tell us a bit about your thoughts and what you'd like to talk about from your perspective on this story.
Well, let me share my screen and I will pull up the chart of now. Can you see that? Yeah,
We
sorry,
see, yep.
sorry for the fuzzy boundaries. Just to save a little time, it's just a copy and paste way of doing this. So as you can see, there's a Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening in the sky. This is a very powerful world transit that lasts a little over 3 years. We're more than a year into it. But the beautiful thing about this challenging transit is it's being sextiled from both sides, from Pluto and from Uranus. And you can see it more clearly over here. When we get up to July, Uranus will have moved into Gemini. And now look at this beautiful symmetrical thing. Aquarius to Aries to Gemini. I see this in some ways like a cosmic receiver dish or cosmic reflector. To have all 4 of these outer planetary archetypes lined up is a really powerful indicator of major transformation, of opportunities for inner healing, the inner archaeological quest, as we call it, looking at our past traumas and resolving them. And there are some specific ways that we can approach this, which I'll get into. But yeah, that's a good start.
So I just want to say you're right. It looks like a satellite dish.
Yeah, isn't that, it's just an amazing thing. This July 7th and the week before and the week after, Venus will be involved with Uranus here. So that should be a pretty interesting time. So here is the Grof-Tarnus perinatal sequence. Stanislav Grof was a pioneer in the psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, and then developed with his partner holotropic breathwork, which he now calls Grof breathwork. And then Richard Tarnas, many of you know the the sort of founder of archetypal astrology per se. So, all of these schools emerge out of the great river of astrology that we're all baptizing in on a regular basis. So their work together enabled Rick to make correlations between these 4 outer planetary archetypes, the same ones that are now lined up in the sky. This is already happening. It gets more visible starting in July. Between those and then 4 stages of delivery, the late gestation, and then these 3 stages of delivery. So Neptune is connected with states of unity. The good womb experiences are a very powerful basis and prototype in our psyches for feelings of security, higher meaning, blissful connection, bonding, a capacity to bond. Saturn is connected with the no exit stage of delivery, with the uterine walls contracting, but the cervix still closed, so no exit. Very powerful clinical basis for depression, feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, and so on. And I'll talk about how it's connected with the transits in just a moment. And then Pluto archetype is connected with the dynamic stage of delivery, with the cervix now open and the slow, intense propulsion down the birth canal, an activation of powerful energies. And finally, Uranus is connected with the explosive liberation and ecstatic exiting of the birth canal and entry into the world as a separate biological being, and then reconnection with the divine feminine, the archetype of rebirth. So Lori is already familiar with this from our class and my book, but you say you found this helpful in your.
I find it helpful in so many ways, using it just with my clients' charts. And funny enough, there's a concept in my type of astrology where planets above the ascendant degree, like towards the 12th house, will be what we call prenatal, like literally like it's just before you were born. And you'll see things go on there often, like a prenatal Saturn, right? I have a prenatal Saturn before my ascendant. And my mother calls my labor with me she said that was back breaking. I was the firstborn in her life, and it was prolonged, it was painful, and they had to grab me with forceps and yank me out. But it really is, when you think about the Saturnian archetype of the compression and feeling trapped in there, right? You know what I mean? Constricted. I probably felt that. My mother's description of it was endless back-breaking labor.
Yeah, well, glad you made it.
I'm here. I got through.
Yeah, I'm an Aries, like my friend and colleague Lori, and I'm also the firstborn, and it was very hard labor for me as well. When a mother goes into labor, it activates her own leftover perinatal material from her own birth, so that's why it can become doubly intense. And right after delivery is a wonderful opportunity to do very deep inner work. So it'd be nice in the future if midwives could learn how to do the breath work with their clients or refer them to help the mother sort of work through the leftovers. So there are definitely obstetric, medical, biological components of these basic perinatal matrices 1 to 4 that I went through. But even if you, for some reason, don't accept that that's a possibility, this is a very useful model for understanding these core thematic flavors of unity, heaven, paradise, hell, and no exit, purgatory, and a sense of light at the end of the tunnel, Pluto, and then static rebirth and breakthrough. And so at a time like this, the Saturn Neptune can represent an interplay between these states of unity, Neptune, and states of separation, between peace and agitation, ecstatic feelings of security and then states of fear and loss and guilt and so on, shame. And when people are experiencing this material surface in their everyday life, because these leftover experiences from birth are always trying to complete themselves. So they push upward into our consciousness, and to try to get us to feel them fully, and that releases them. So when that is happening, the most we can do is to spend time every day either sitting or lying down and just feel deeply what is happening inside of us. Don't try to cover up our pain and our fear. Just feel it, sink into it as much as we can. The the tears of sorrow that Neptune Saturn can bring up gradually resolve into a feeling of the healing waters of life. So there's an avenue for transcendence from this state of no exit compression back to the unity and bliss of the womb. So many of you listening will be involved in this process right now. And the fact that Uranus and Pluto are involved supercharges the process. They make it quicker. Uranus brings an element of speed and sort of unexpected resolutions. So let yourself feel what is happening inside yourself without trying to change it. There's an automatic healing that is trying to happen, our inner healer. And then I can also talk about the Pluto to Uranus movement too, if maybe you have something to add, Lori.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, since, in archetypal astrology, everybody, first of all, they have larger orbs than the rest of us do, like they'll give like big space to the planets meeting each other, the outer planets, like sometimes 13 degrees. But the other thing is they don't care about sign boundaries in the archetypal world. So as Neptune and Saturn are now together this summer, basically, through to September in the sign-based area of Aries, they're still together by degree in our sky before this time and after. So I have a question for you, having Neptune and Saturn hovering beside each other for like the last 2 years, even through the sign of Pisces. And, knowing that, like, I think in your book, you might say Neptune, Saturn. I think you might have quoted Joni Mitchell on that song about paved paradise and made it a parking lot. Remember that song? Na, 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 parking lot, Paradise Lost or whatever. So how would you describe then we're all living with this just simple energy and very different oceanic consciousness, awareness of unity, in the paradise of the mother's womb, the waters of, oneness, all of that. And it's contrasted with this compression energy of Saturn in the last 3 years. And how would you say collectively that's been playing out in the world or in our own lives? Like, what we've been going through it for a while now.
Yeah, well, it's been more strong for the last about 14 months, but you're right. They've been in the same sign of Pisces for several years. People can have an alternation between feelings of security and then sudden fear. The polarization in the culture wars has intensified. One party wins and the other one loses. So at any given time, half the electorate feels like they're living in a kind of a nightmare where all that is good and decent and trustworthy has been taken away, and that's either side feels that way. So that's certainly one of the ways. Climate change is escalating, and people are having a sense that we are not living lightly on the earth. This carbon pollution is intensifying in the atmosphere and heating up the earth. That's another one of the ways that can show up. For some people, it can be a very primarily internal process. So Neptune moistens the Saturn archetype and dissolves the boundaries around our Saturnian fear and pain that it might be deep in our psyche, so we can no longer suppress it. So there can be a vague feeling of something is wrong, there's some kind of threat. They don't know why. There's a sense of impending doom, or like I'm going down the drain or something, which is a very perinatal image when you think about it, losing the womb and then being kind of beginning to move down toward labor. People can also get in touch with toxic womb leftovers. So, Saturnian impingements within the Neptunian womb matrix. So you could, for example, relive alcohol or drug abuse by your mom, or maybe she had medical problems, or was had ambivalent feelings about being pregnant, or um, wasn't being supported, had fear and so on. And that can manifest as like flu-like symptoms or vague feelings of hypochondria, a sense that one is being poisoned. There's something inside of us that is toxic. And, we should try to eat healthy and eat organic, at least, some of the time and so on if we can. But if this is a surfacing memory, nothing we do, no amount of fasting can get rid of that feeling. We have to regress to that womb memory and then fully experience it. So those are some of the possibilities.
Okay, well, that's amazing in the sense that collectively someone might not know that their anxiety, hypochondria, impending doom is connected to a story much larger than their personal life, and that for Neptune and Saturn to come together in the collective sky, for all of us to feel something like this is pretty amazing, because Neptune coming into the sky with Saturn like this is rare. Saturn's a 29-year cycle. Neptune is 164-year cycle. And I did actually put this in one of my videos. I think it goes back to, would you remember, Renn, 17 something? No, 18 something, but whatever. We're 18 something, 1800, somewhere in the 1800s, 1850s. But the point is that here we are, the whole world, and each of us get to feel this perinatal experience collectively. And I love how you brought out the sense that, being expelled from paradise because your party didn't win the election, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Having constrictions or walls pressing in on you when you wanted to be over there in the winning camp of your whatever party you wanted to win whatever election in whatever country you're in.
Right. Yeah. And we can make things worse by projecting our own unhealed process onto the situation. That doesn't mean we shouldn't participate and be good citizens and try to make a better world. And, humanity's trying to evolve, or the divine is trying to evolve us, and we're in a kind of a birth labor for our whole species. And it's in a sense, a race against time between the part of us that is whole and loving and healthy, and the behaviors that we have that are more about fear and greed and aggression and so on. And we have to evolve beyond those. So there can be a sense of, having to evolve. Like it's the stick side of the carrot and the stick that helps us to grow as a person. The stick is like, we must do it. And so that's the positive side of Saturn.
Well, and I also had sorry to interrupt, I just had a thought, and because I have an Aries Mercury mouth, I can't stop myself. I know it's literally, though, there's a huge thing going on in the collective. All of my daughter's friends, my daughter's 25, and even people I know in my own social circle, in the boomer or Gen Xers, towards sobriety. And it's become really intense in the last 2 years. Huge movement towards not drinking or drinking very little and seeing the dark side of alcohol. And when I think about Saturn, sobriety, sober-minded, constricted, contained, regulated, organized, whatever, the boundaries. And then you get Neptune can be that like escape hatch, right? When we're not in touch with the positive elements of Neptune, we look for the escape hatch in substance abuse or any kind of escapism. So it seems like the sobriety movement almost reflects it, because it's becoming a pop culture vibe now, right? Chick lit, quit lit has taken over chick lit. And it really feels like this Neptune Saturn combination is bringing a lot of that to the forefront. What are we escaping from? Whether it's Netflix, alcohol, why are we running off to check out?
Yeah, well, Netflix is a good one, but we're on the very last episode of Downton Abbey, so that's
okay. You need to join Netflix Anonymous.
yeah, I know. You get into these things, and there are 80 episodes. Outlander, I'm caught up on that one. That's been quite an ordeal, I have to say. But yeah, it's unbearable, the Saturnian states in this form. There are other Saturnian states that are more about hard work and editing and pruning and maturing and so on. Those are very positive ones. But there's a side of Saturn which can feel unbearable, like suffering that will never end. So we yearn to undo those painful emotional and physical stimuli and return to this state of no boundaries, this amniotic universe, what Grof calls oceanic ecstasy or melted ecstasy. And just you, as you said rightly, if we don't have an actual avenue or pathway back to this divine consciousness, then we will automatically seek substitutes. Ken Wilber called this the Atman Project. What are the substitutes that cultures and people have for actual unitive states? Because unitive states is the goal of psychotherapy and self-exploration and of mysticism, to reach the states of unity with other people, with the entire cosmos, with animals and plants and everything in the world. And when we have those states, we feel connected with everything, and we realize that if we hurt someone else or we hurt something else, like animals, ecosystems, we're hurting ourselves. So this is really an antidote to many of the most serious human problems. We also can have our needs, our spiritual needs met when we have those unitive experiences. And we are less drawn to the substitutes of overconsumption and prestige and power and so on, the things that are basically making us live beyond our means on this planet, you know. And so it's a very desirable process and goal to work toward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And now the Pluto Uranus part of it, for some people, they will be more in touch with this archetype, Pluto. It's also a state of suffering, but it's not as difficult as Saturn. There's a sense of light at the end of the tunnel. Finite amount will eventually get out. That's what this arrow represents. We're moving toward the divine, toward the light. And whereas we can work through these Saturnian leftovers in a quiet way by meditating or just lying on our beds with our limbs uncrossed and just feeling what is inside of us, making space every day to feel the fear in our gut or to let ourselves cry. With Pluto, the process is more dramatic and abreactive or cathartic. It's important that if aggressive energies come up, that we find somewhere to yell, you know, find a soundproof place where you can yell, get the energy out of your system. There's a finite amount of it, and there's an activation of enormous aggressive energies from this dynamic stage of labor. It's not the only source, obviously, but a lot of volcanic energies are connected with that. There are other things, shadow energies and so on, nausea. And it's important that we allow that to come out. People can have like shaking, what are called kriyas, kundalini experiences. And that's a very desirable process. You don't want to hold it in, just let it out. Sooner or later, people break through into these states of reconnection with the divine. So these Uranian states are strongly connected with the Neptunian states. This fourth perinatal matrix represents the state of sudden relaxation of tension and reconnection with the divine after a period of suffering like this. And then Neptune represents the eternal all, capital E, capital A, all there is that the mystics talk about. And we're in a kind of a state of a sense of immortality and timelessness. This consciousness never ends. You know, life, we go through different lifetimes, but the consciousness within us continues. It's part of the divine consciousness, and that never ends. So that's the eternal life that the mystics talk about. So for whatever, you know, we're working on, wherever we are being influenced in this perinatal sequence, it will help the process to deepen. If we're working through Saturn or Plutonic experiences, we will have access to transcendence, like from Pluto to Uranus or from Saturn to Neptune. And this this cosmic receiver dish is like this
Mm.
massive intensification of the process. There could be element of surprise, you know, like suffering that suddenly turns into a breakthrough. And
Hmm.
and I think that this happens on an individual level, but also on a species level. And like we realize that the great mother goddess is kind of driving the whole process toward evolution of her children. You know, we are the children of the divine. And just when things seem as dark as they can get, then there's a breakthrough. So
Well, it's interesting, people like Eckhart Tolle, who sat on the old park bench, destitute, or Byron Katie, who was suicidal in the suffering of Pluto, basically, then had these instantaneous, spontaneous breakthrough awakenings.
mhm.
I mean, that's a perfect example to me of what's going on with that Pluto to the Uranus storyline in this diagram. And so there, one thing I like, this is weird. Like, we're getting all of these elements of the perinatal matrix hooked up in a little receiver dish, or called a mini grand trine in my terminology, in our sky coming up in the summer, when Uranus makes it really perfect by sign as well, by getting into Gemini in the Western tropical zodiac. But nonetheless, we're forming this beautiful little triangle. And there was a famous astrologer or satellite dish, I can't remember his name, who years ago foretold this to be the coming of a golden age for humanity, when this particular sky lined up between the outer planets, right? Forget even about Saturn, just having that Neptune, Pluto, Uranus triangle forming in our heavens in 26 and in 2027, even, like, this year, next year, they're all kind of, floating around in a bit of a loosey-goosey triangle. Gets better, I think, really exact next year. But Saturn's in the mix this time. And that's what's interesting to me too, for Saturn to jump in on the whole story. So I have a question for you. It's kind of like, it's a deep one, because we always knew where Saturn was. The ancients knew where Saturn was. You see that cold, distant, very faint light in the sky, and they recognized it as the planet Saturn. Described him as a malefic, along with Mars. Don't forget, Jupiter and Venus were bright little diamonds in the sky, and Mars was kind of rusty red, and Saturn was kind of a pale yellowy color. And so they basically were like, okay, these are the bad guys. And there's more cosmology to that than you think, right? Jupiter is the greater benefic, but Jupiter's gravitational pull keeps the asteroid belt from falling to the sun, which means pummeling the Earth. So he really is the bringer of life. But the thing I want to ask you, from your perspective in the archetypal, astrological, and the psychedelic realm, which I know goes together with some of this, is we didn't know about Pluto, and we hadn't discovered Pluto or Neptune or Uranus necessarily before recent times, various times, right? 1930s, 1800s. And so how do you think the lack of awareness of the outer trio of planets impacts humanity, compared to we didn't know they existed and now we do, especially with Pluto, the last guy in? Do you think that changes anything about how, like, because don't forget, like during the fall of Rome times too, you were having certain things go on in the sky that are rinsing and repeating right now. And so, in other words, but we have a different awareness of the sky. Do you think it matters?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the ancients, our cultural forebears, were having these kind of breakthrough experiences, like this, what Joseph Campbell calls the hero or heroine's journey, the descent into the underworld, and then ordeals and tests, and then coming back into the day world with something to give to humanity. We know from the rites of passage and from shamanism and the mystery religions of the Mediterranean Aboriginal healing rituals that they knew that the death rebirth experience was very healing. But it seems now that we've discovered Uranus and then Neptune and then Pluto, that they're coming into the awareness of all humanity, not just certain groups of people.
Oh,
And
not just a secret knowledge.
not like that. And there was always a lot of fear that it was going to get into the wrong hands. I mean, the Greeks had a death penalty on using the ergot, the naturally occurring LSD that grows on rye, in a recreational way. And we don't know if anyone was actually put to death, but they took it very seriously. We're in a kind of a species-wide birth labor. We now have for the first time, the opportunity to destroy ourselves through our own actions and take many species with us. And we're on that path, you know, right now. We have to kind of pull back from that and go in a more positive, more sustainable, peaceful direction. So I think, again, we're being forced now to rediscover spirituality in a way. And I think that's what the discovery of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, that's what that represents. We've come out of a worldview in the West that's called the philosophical materialist worldview that holds that all that is real is matter. And there's no hidden forces, there's no higher purpose, there's no creator. And even though quantum physics 100 years ago has shown that, you know, time and space are much different than we were taught in that materialistic model, and there are non-local connections between things that are faster than the speed of light and so on. Psychology and philosophy has not caught up to that yet, and I think astrology has a lot to offer to participate in the rebirth of spirituality, and not the old forms. There's nothing wrong with them, but you know, when people have genuine mystical experiences, they might find renewal of their family religion, but they would tend to in a more mystical way. But for many people, they develop a kind of all-inclusive, all-encompassing, non-sectarian type of spirituality, like a world spirituality, you know, that everything is part of the divine.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's so interesting to me because certain things have evolved, and like there's been the legalization of many psychedelics, unlike the crackdown in the 60s. But there's also been things like the uprising of near-death experience stories, mostly because our medical system has allowed a lot of people to come back from the other side, to be, you know, literally dead and on arrival and then resuscitated. And so now we have people who are having a huge amount of near-death experience recall stories all over the internet, a huge amount of information available to us about the spirit being, you know, eternal, the body being temporary, you know, the non-local, at the synchronistic realm, synchronicities over the top for everybody. I got clients who never knew what a synchronicity was 5 years ago. Now all they want to tell me about is their latest synchronicity. So synchronicity, near-death experiences, psychedelic medicines that allow us to tap into non-ordinary perception. All of this is happening all at once, and it's really fascinating. It's just, to me, it's like there's no more barriers of intercessory that, like, you know, my spiritual person up above me is going to tell me how to get here through some ritual or some ordination process. No, I mean, it's up to each of us now to like experience our own awareness of the truth. And then, you know, it's kind of like maybe there will be 100th monkey, Renn, you know, one day enough people get there that there comes like a blast radius of awakening for the world.
Yeah, maybe we're at the 99 monkey stage already. You know, I've seen some monkey-ish behavior here and there when I walk around, but yeah.
You never know. You never know. But what I love about this diagram you just shared with us, because it's going to really represent this really insanely rare sky that's happening this summer. It is to behold it, right? And wonder how will this actually feel for each of us. I certainly can attest to the compression in the Neptune Saturn in the last 15, 14 months being so close together in Pisces and now in Aries. That one has been very easy for me to perceive. You know, it literally has felt like I'm like struggling between, you know, Saturn and I want to escape. I had a hard day at work. Give me my glass of wine. You know what I mean? Or, you know, that's just that compression experience has been really intense. And like I'm aware of what's going on in the sky, but it doesn't change the fact that it's happening here, right?
Right. We still have to feel it, and astrology, you know, the gods and goddesses will always surprise us. Another good part of answer to your question is we now have access to the entire pantheon of humanity. In the past, all the mystics of a particular area and time would have the same kind of experiences. Like in Christian Europe, they would tend to have experiences of Christ and God and Mary and the Holy Ghost. And you know, the Babylonians would have experiences of Inanna and Ishtar, rather. But now those partitions have lifted, and that is I think the answer that you're looking for. We now have access to all the deities, and these are all just faces of the one divine consciousness. Gods and goddesses are not separate things. They're just personas of the divine. And we have access to all of that. And the return of the feminine archetypes, the goddesses, is one of the most blessed and precious parts of it. And we can have experiences under transits like these that we're talking about, of, as I said, the mother goddess kind of running the whole show all along. Rick Tarnus at the 1997 Cycles and Symbols conference said famously, patriarchy is the 5,000-year birth canal of the great mother goddess.
Oh,
In a
that-
period of intense population pressures and development of kind of moral and intellectual autonomy, not the most successful, but a struggle to do that, and then development of science and reason and technology, and now we're at the point of like Armageddon with our power, just our power to pollute, let alone our power to drop bombs on each other. So we have to evolve and break through. And I think that
we
like,
have to. We have to, because with the advent of quantum computing and AI, and the use of weaponry developed by these technologies or manned by these technologies, right? Artificial intelligence of drones, etc. It's like perilously reckless. It's ridiculously reckless.
I know. Yeah. We're in a kind of a almost like we're at the end of history. We're into unknown territory, and during these transits, many of us can feel kind of out of control, like we don't know anymore. The certainties are gone, the bottom drops out. That can be a Saturn Neptunian feeling, but it's in that state of kind of free fall that the divine can then take our psyches and push us toward rebirth. So it's important to feel what is happening inside of us and trust our inner healers, and reach out to people that are doing responsible breath work. Grof breathwork, holotropic breathwork are my personal favorites, but there are many other good ones. And responsible use of psychedelics, like with therapists, with responsible spiritual friends, and so on. That can also be helpful. But with Saturn Neptune, it's important to realize that when we ingest a medicine like that, we're putting up the lightning rod and saying, I can take it more intense than usual, like more than everyday life. So we have to be willing to suffer and to go wherever it takes us. But sooner or later, after a finite amount of suffering, the process moves in a positive direction. And we just learn to trust that. So,
well, I remember, I love the Grof quote about patriarchy, 5,000 years, like the birth process for the divine feminine. But even Dalai Lama, was it Dalai Lama? The Western women will save the world. I don't know what has to be Western women. The feminine can save the situation. I always say that it takes. No, I know I'm naive. I understand that I'm hopeful and naive, and I'm a little bit autistic. So I'll say all of that first. But I can't imagine any mother who wants their kid to go to war and die. And if you're sure, if there's something charging at you and you're going to defend your very life, and your kid is a part of that, that's one thing, to be in a reactive defense mode. But to be in a proactive defense mode and send a child off to some far-flung war, it is not a feminine impulse for anybody who's a mother. It's just not. The last thing you want to do is make your child a projectile. And so at the end of the day, I think if women were in more places of power, we would see a huge shift around working through diplomacy and diplomatic channels, negotiation, conversation, and an attempt to find common ground than we do with the more testosterone rich, way that the world is run. So a friend of mine, you will like her, Renn, Kim Hudson. She lives up in the Yukon. She wrote a book called The Bridge, and it's about the feminine and masculine ways of working. After being a geologist for many years and working with Indigenous people, and then working with corporate, and seeing the two different mindsets between the two, the feminine and the masculine.
right. Yeah. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. I think I might be from Mercury, but Good to have a variety.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing about this weird sky. Okay, so it's coming up to a theater near you. It's coming up this summer. I know I've been really grinding with both the Saturn Neptune piece. That's been my biggest experience lately. How have you been doing it? Can you share one anecdote about what the sky's been feeling like for you lately, especially the compression of the Saturn Neptune? What's it been like in your world?
I've had some new kind of feelings come up. The emotion shame. It's really an interesting thing. I do mini sessions with cannabis, that's legal in Canada, and it can be used like a psychedelic. So I go and rent a little cabin in the country that my friends have, and I put on music and I smoke it and I lie down and I stay lying down for about 5 hours and that's to go to the bathroom, and this emotion of shame coming up, and it really feels like a kind of a generalized feeling of shame connected with the birth process. It doesn't have any specific content to it. So that's been a really interesting new thing, and it
Mm.
it feels quite threatening. And I see images of people in history and society who, that's like a part of their everyday life. And shameful behavior, shameful situations, or society projects on them, and so on. And it's quite threatening. But then I just go, okay, I'm just going to keep facing this, and I face it and go into it more and more, and then the process is moving. So it's always exciting when something new comes up. There's like a sense of, what's the positive thing on the other side of this. So that's been one thing. I do find those.
Probably innocence. On the other side of shame would be innocence.
Yeah, I guess so. Everything that happens in the universe is happening within the divine, the shadow and the light. But it seems like we can face the shadow side in sessions and through our inner life, by process drawing and writing and so on, and breathwork sessions, psychedelic medicine sessions. And that fulfills the divine's desire or need to have a shadow side, this binary of light, dark, of
Mm.
good, bad, and so on. Facing it in sessions consumes that and those energies and fulfills the divine's need to have those experiences. And then that leads to positive outcomes in our everyday life. We can be part of the solution. We can live a more loving version of ourselves, to work to cooperate with others to find shared solutions, to work in synergy, to we can become just more healthy and happy versions of ourselves.
Mm.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
process.
I love that, because if you don't do that work somewhere else, like if do it in your dreams at night, or do it in your psychedelic sessions, or in your meditations, or your Jungian dream analysis, you're going to end up doing it in the outer world, and acting it out, role playing it outward, which is what it has to go either through the inner process or the outer. It's going to show up. I was joking with my YouTube channel. I'll have to investigate more about it, but Pluto moving through Leo happens to be my seventh house from my ascendant, Aquarian ascendant. And that has looked like trolls from hell on my channel, like really intense trolls. I'm like,
Really?
yeah, oh
Huh.
yeah. And I even got this, because Pluto, right? I even got this one gnarly troll, like, who wrote me this like letter. It was crazy, but it's okay. I'm watching the sky, but I'm like, okay, game on. Pluto's across from my Saturn ascendant.
Yeah. Well, I've got Pluto on my descendant. I have 0 Leo rising,
Yeah.
kind of inverse of you. And yeah, I mean, people, if the trolls are watching this, it's better to face this material in sessions. If we act it out against other people, that creates karma, and that delays the healing process. So we have to, in our inner life, become all the parts. We're both the perpetrator part of the universe and the victim part of the universe. We don't want to act those out in actual world, but we can face them, psychologically and emotionally. So
Mhm.
I hope people won't have necessarily. That's
Well, my last thought about it is, because when I read your book on my channel quite often, and I'm looking at the shadow of a planetary alignment, and I'm looking at the regular positive side, because you always give both in your book. I always say, well, this is a flowing energy. It's, this is a trine and two sextiles, and 60, 60 degrees and 90. And those are considered benefic in the ancient tradition of Hellenistic astrology. The sextiles are the nature of Venus, and Jupiter owns the trine. And so the two twinkly diamond lights of our sky, the diamond light planets are holding space for this to look good on humanity this summer. And so I'm very hopeful for something positive.
Yeah, yeah, and our ego's tendency is to want to smooth over problems and to sort of rise above our psyche and repress the negative material inside of us. That's understandable. But these transits can help us to go deep in new ways. And that's a more permanent solution to the problem of our unconscious wounds and traumas. We want the negative to come out and, have support from people as we're going through it. And then that makes more space for the good to come in. It's like open.
Yes, because it's to me like gardening, right? If you're going to go deep into it in your dream life, your meditations, your whatever process you use, you're pulling things out by the roots. But if you're just going to live your life and it's another troll battle, and it's another shameful moment in my life, it's another depressive episode where I felt bad about what I did, whatever, we all have things going on, but it's so easy to be captivated by the dream. Like I think this is a matrix, okay? I think this is a simulation, but so easy to be like wrapped up in the Maya or the Leela, the play of God, and lose yourself to it and play it out on the outer level, and it just keeps repeating itself and repeating itself. And rather than go under the surface, pull up the roots and maybe completely change the script.
Exactly. And it's understandable why we do that, because some of these unconscious leftovers are very threatening. Like fear of death. There can be a sense of impending doom and threat. Suffocation in the birth process is a very powerful trauma for many people. So we can face it bit by bit in responsible use of cannabis if we lie down rather than just walk around. Better to have a trained guide or therapist supporting us, and just gradually work through that unconscious reservoir of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what you were saying about needing to evolve, we really have to reach a place as a species where violence is no longer seen as a viable option. We just have to find other ways to do it, to get along and to see our commonalities, to find win-win solutions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for people out there who are feeling anger and have aggression and I know what that's like. It's important to, as I said, find somewhere to yell and get the feelings out, make fists and growl and yell in a soundproof room. You want to do that, but you don't want to aim it at other people.
That's so funny. We're all afraid to be angry. Angry is going to be bad, or if you're spiritually bypassing, somehow your spiritual creds don't go down the hill when you're angry. But to finish up, I'll have to tell a funny catharsis story. I went to this therapist in my 40s when I was in the middle of my divorce, or just starting out in my divorce of my first marriage, 20-year marriage, 2 kids. And he was very transpersonal psychology dude. And he had me do this exercise where he had a bunch of pillows on a chair to represent the ex-husband. He gave me like a bag full of like towels, like I don't know what it was. And he had me whack the towels on the chair with an expression that would come for me. Like I had certain words, like there's 3 words, right? Okay. It was, how dare you? But the point is that I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. This is really dumb. Like I feel really self-conscious. Check me out. Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, I was so hoarse, but I was so free. It was so freeing. I was like a state of peace and calm, like I've never felt before after that.
Yeah, well, good for him and good for you. And it takes more energy to hold in things than to let them out. It takes courage to face our unconscious, but that is really the way forward for humanity, I believe. I just something I wanted to add. There were a couple of interesting figures born a week apart in 1819, and that's Queen Victoria and Walt Whitman. And so they had Uranus, Neptune square Saturn, Pluto. So the same 4 archetypes in a more dynamic way than what we have, but very similar. Queen Victoria really went and embraced the Saturnian side of it in a sense. You know, I will be good, and she became synonymous with sort of moral virtue and, you know, prim English manners and so on. Whereas Walt Whitman went more with the Uranus and Pluto side of it, and he became synonymous with sensuality, with sexuality, with kind of a lusty, hot-blooded life. His poetry is amazing for the mid 19th century. So we want to become all the parts. You know, we want to find outlets for all the different energies in our psyches. But remember Saturn, which is actions have consequences. Don't act it out in society. Prepare your space, have supports there. Think about the making loud yelling sounds and what the neighbors might do. You know, you have to find a place where you're not going to be interrupted.
Oh
So
my
that's
God.
how Saturn can become part of this process. Saturn won't resist the catharsis that you were talking about. Saturn can support it, you know.
Right. A container for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
container, yeah,
Structured container, safe container.
yeah.
Yeah, Saturn can be of all of those things. What a great conversation. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so very much. So
Yeah.
people can find you this fall. You're opening up the doors to your astrology course yet again?
Yes, I am. Being honored to have people join the class. I really enjoy it. This will be the 8th year in a row. It's 22 weeks. It's first class is Saturday, October 4th at noon Pacific time. It's 8:45 US, but the early bird rate is $595 right now until June 1st.
Oh,
So
that's it. Such a deal.
yeah, and we're going to have a ceiling of 100 students. So, you know, their space is limited. We'd love to have you join the class. We'll be looking at many people's dreams and the transits that they had, their psychedelic and breathwork journeys. We'll look at their relationship chemistry with people in their life, current events, and
Mm.
famous people who have different aspects. There's also a study guide that I put together that is a great way to keep track of your insights. This is Mars Neptune. Gandhi had it, and you know, the happy or blissful spiritual Mars in the womb, and then these categories where you can write in, do you have it? When did you have that transit? Famous people who have it, people in your life who have it, and that becomes like a permanent resource for people. If they're doing a reading in the future, then they can just refresh their memory and like, oh yeah, my Uncle Bob has this. And you know,
Hmm. You know, and that's one of my favorite parts of what I learned when I was with you that still is a part of my life so deeply is that I can see every morning when I do my dream analysis with my partner, we'll both be, he'll tell me his dream and he'll go Jungian and I'll go, well, that was this planet and that was that planet in the sky relative to your story, your dream. You're dreaming the sky.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's, it's amazing how
yeah,
we are dreaming. The sky is dreaming us and we are dreaming the sky.
absolutely. And it's a beautiful, mutually fulfilling relationship. We need the divine and the divine needs us, you know. So that's the ultimate romantic partnership, you could say, or spiritual partnership.
Yeah,
So
well, that's all the poems of Rumi, right? The beloved, Hafiz and Rumi, the beloved is that divine union between the mortal and the immortal, or the eternal unborn and the temporary appearance of our personal lives, you know?
yeah, there's a novel written about Rumi, and Allison just started reading that to me, written by a woman, a scholar. And I've forgotten the name of it, but it's about Rumi's life, you know, and it's written in present tense. Like I Rumi walks to the window and looks out and so on.
Oh,
Present. So
I'll have to grab that one. I love Rumi. Rumi's one of my, Hafiz and Rumi are my two go-tos when I need a pick me up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be an honor to have people in the class.
Yes, I will be sharing in the links below the video, guys, in the description box, everything you need to know about joining Renn in his class this fall, getting in on the early bird course. As everyone knows, I teach a 6-week fun and quickie about predictive tools. This is a deep dive into the sky like nothing you've ever seen, and it's not something I'd ever try to do. So I'm going to hang us both up so that when we finish the call, you and I won't be chatting anymore because I've got another thing I need to do in like a few minutes. So I have to get to that next thing. But wow, that was so much fun. I always love chatting with you. And everyone, if you go take this class, and I love that you have a cap on it because it is a beautiful class. And it's nice to make friends in the class and have connections with the breakout groups and stuff. So jump in, guys, if you want to have a 22-week ride next fall. It'll mind blow you.
Yeah. Hope to connect with some of you in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Renn. I'll see you next time you're in town.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Ciao. So let's look at Uranus. We'll start with Aries, and we're going to move all the way through to the sign of Pisces. If you like that interview with Renn Butler, if you want to study with him, please let him know. All the information to enroll in his class, get a discount before. This is super early bird because he's going to teach in October. It's really an amazing class. I remind you of it because I really learned from it. I still use archetypal astrology in all of my work with clients and with you guys here on YouTube. So here we have the sky, and let's get rolling. We're just going to go through really like clean delineation. Forget a lot of planets. We got to get rid of some of those asteroids that are a part of the Japan story. I just finished recording my prediction video about whether there will be an earthquake or a seismic or tsunami event in the area around Japan, which I predicted in my 2025 video, by the way, that came out in early January. It's one of my top 10 predictions. And now it's trending on July 3rd from the Japanese manga artist. So I went into the astrology of that, tied it to 1965, broken arrow missile loss of a nuclear device under the seabed near Japan by the United States in 1965. If you haven't seen that video, who knows when you're watching this one, probably Sunday, go ahead and get it. All right, go watch it. Hopefully, anyway. So here we have the July 25th, 2025 sky. I did not mean to move that far into the future. Let's put it to the now. And then let's move us to the crossing of Uranus. The crossing of Uranus right there on July 7th, FYI, right here on July the 7th into the sign of Uranus. Now that brings us together with a bigger story. I didn't really want to keep Jupiter in there either. Let's take him out. We'll take out Jupiter and we'll add Neptune. This is the main vibe I wanted to talk about, guys. This is your major sky that Renn and I talk about, these kinds of planets in the perinatal matrix, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus being a part of the in the womb, the birth, and the pre-birth, the womb experience, and being born. And so you'll see these planets are in a very rare triangle in our heavens in 25 and 2026, more importantly, acts very exact. And André Barbeau, a French astrologer, predicted the golden age of humanity would be upon us because of this. I can only hope it's because of the catastrophic events that may be occurring in July of 2025 that give us a freaking wake-up call. If not, the UFOs on the White House lawn would be handy. So here we have it. We're going to go through each sign. We're going to talk about your triangle that is awakened for you. This is not a long video. When I did the Adam Ellen bus video, I did a much longer delineation. Please go watch that video and just jump to your time stamps on that as well. Here, I'm going to move us, and I'm going to move us to Aries. Of course, we like to start with the ram. Just don't even ask why. Aries always goes first. And here we go. So if you are in Aries, you're going to notice all this electricity leaving your second house. I'll move us to the 8th so we can see it, and activating. It's been Uranus in your earnings house since 2018 on and off. So 2018 till now, electrified earnings, shocks and awe, rags to riches, riches to rags, erratic earnings, new sources of earnings, earnings with the internet, earnings with technology and cutting edge technologies, being inventive in how you make money, outside the box, breaking the rules. You've been through that already, Aries. Now it's time to move into another story. Not only is Uranus over the next 7 years activating your 7th house, and this is a trial run, right? This is a trial run because it really becomes purely that story next year and lasts until 2033, if my memory serves me. But also you've got this triangle that's really alive, and you must pay attention to it because you're not going to be able to not notice it. And that's the air triangle. And who's there? Well, Pluto is there. and Uranus is there. And who else is there? Nobody right now, but planets will move through Libra over the next 7 years as well. So there's an energy here of houses 3, 7, and 11 that are up in lights. And it's all about what you desire. And your desires are going to radically change. What you thought you wanted, you're no longer going to want. And the types of people you engage with are going to be so different. Your one-on-one relationships are different. The types of groups of belonging you choose and the social circles are radically reinvented, but also your intimate everyday environment and the people you engage with on the everyday, in the neighborhood, in your local story are also radically changing. And this is exciting, but it's also very shocking. Now, Uranus in the third house can also bring shocks to your relationships with siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. Big surprises could happen there, big changes in the way you interact with those people. Really, most importantly, is that these karma houses ask you to go into it, the element of desire, and question your desires. Well, as Uranus was changing your values and value system as he went through your I have second house, this is your I think house. And the way you think about life is changing as well as your desires. You have new original ideas. Your mind is sharp and electric and inventive. You're going to be communicating in really radically new ways with Uranus moving through this house of writing and communicating. But with the activation of the audience and marketplace of your seventh house, you can suddenly go viral. You can reach larger audience. You can really make yourself quite the influencer in the trine to Pluto over the next 7 years. Look especially for events in Libra, such as the transit of Venus through Libra every year for 3 weeks to spike a really beautiful story for you of great success, writing, communicating, marketing, and selling, influencing other people, finding your desires met, and meeting new kinds of people that are completely outside the box, especially the ones you hang out with on the daily in your regular local environment, looking nothing like the crews of your prior social engagements. Very different energy. And no, am I moving ahead by days? One more thing, Aries. Sorry about that. Because Saturn and Neptune are in your sign, you've got a lot going on. Like it's beyond Uranus, right? Like this, it's hard to even do this. It's like a kitchen sink story, right? You are becoming sober-minded, wise, and sage-like in the next 3 years. Neptune, visionary, imaginal. You might become like the god of what has boundaries mixed with the god of no boundaries, somewhat enlightened, or you're going to be very stressed out by this combination. It's the next 3 years, though, that Saturn is here, and you're going to find that you become very serious about reality, your life, what you want to accomplish. You are realistic, you're sober-minded, you are wiser than you know yourself to be. If you are somebody under the age of 30, it may not feel as importantly profound as those of you after the age of 30 who've lived through one Saturn return already, but certainly all Aries are feeling like they're getting a grow up going on as well. Oh, I need to get comfy on this chair. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. No complaints here. You've got this triangle of this mini trine forming this year and then more potently next summer. And of course, we'll be doing a whole video on that next summer because then it's very tight. Right now, it's still got some loosey-goosey on it. Uranus has moved into your second house of money, earnings, and resources. Go back and watch the Aries part that I just talked about. Go back to the timestamp for Aries because I describe what Aries lived through when they had Uranus in their second house, because you'll get some more flavor from that. But talk to some Aries friends as well. You're going to have erratic, rags to riches, riches to rags, electric currents jolting your earnings, savings, and resources and possessions house, radically redefining the way in which money is made, saved, and created, and resources are coming to you. Pluto in the 10th is indicating some of that comes through transformation in your career. And of course, the combination of Neptune, Saturn in the 12th house may indicate commercial interest, trade, barter, foreign shores, distant lands, digital borderless income and revenue, or making money from places of isolation. Isolation for 3 years, meaning you're going to go off on the pipeline or go live in a forest hut and make money. You could be isolated and prosperous. Isn't that interesting? In the next 3 years. If you're not isolated, then you're just like maybe pulling some money from distant shores, far off lands, international revenue. This can look very good for those of you doing digital income, borderless income, making money online as well. Now, that aside, the mini triangle, what about the houses 2, 6, and 10? These are air and these are earth houses. This is about material prosperity, earnings and money, employment and resources, and work. And this is where you are lit up with this gorgeous energy over the next 7 years. Energy that hasn't been ever available to you in this life for most of you. So you could find yourself really succeeding financially, incredibly, in ways that you didn't even know was possible. There is a quality of looking to the Libra sky for what happens there. I particularly want you to watch the yearly transit of Venus through Libra. This happens to be a very auspicious time frame for you. It's usually going to happen in the fall. Early fall, Venus is close to the sun as the sun is moving through the sign of Libra or Virgo. And you're going to find every fall a beautiful glow up in your story. When you want to get a new job, apply for a new job, get a raise, get a promotion. You want to pay off a debt. You want to activate greater financial success. It activates every year when Venus moves through Libra and activates Pluto in your 10th house and Uranus in your 2nd. So you can kind of tick tock your life to watch for that transit of Venus through this part of your sky on the regular, right? It usually, you need the sun. She's close to the sun. You need to have the sun in the sign of Libra. So usually it's going to be happening in September, October, around that time frame. 3 weeks of goodness for you every single year. Shall we move on? I told you it was a quickie. Hey, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, first of all, of course, you need to take magnesium and breathe, because this is like having Kundalini activations. This is going to wake up your energy field. Are you around 39 to 42 and this is happening? Then you're in the middle of a Uranus opposition. This connected to a mini grand trine that no one's seen before. So it's an amazing time for you guys, 39 to 42. Uranus opposition will be activated as Uranus is going to be opposite the Sagittarius part of the sky where it would have been when you were born. So any of you born with Uranus and Sag over the next 7 years is going to have this Uranus opposition. So if you are 39 to 42, that's usually when it's heating up. And it's a life-changing pivot point. It's kind of like a wake-up call. It's a midlife crisis in the best sense of the word. A lot of marriages end, a lot of jobs and career paths end. People redefine their whole life in the light of a Uranus opposition. That said, don't forget the mini trine is playing out as well. What about Pluto in the 9th house of God? Do you want to go into book publishing? Do you want to go into education as a profession? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to consider your outreach international? Do you want to find a new spiritual impulse and a deep, profound transformation through meditation, spiritual practice, and belief? All of that's possible because you're redefining yourself in the light of this energy. Like lightning bolts of self-understanding and change are upon you, sun, moon, and rising. When I look at the Aries part of the sky, of course, we know that that's all about your friends, your groups of belonging, the people that are, a part of your tribe. It's also the gains from your career. You can definitely expect some significant changes of career gains. This is especially useful if you want to be a professor, a teacher, if you want to be a preacher, a pulpit thumper, if you want to get some kind of book publishing income going. This allows for that very, very beautifully over the course of the next 7 years. What about this activation of houses 1, 9, and 5? Those are your air houses. They're connected to Dharma. Houses 1, 5, and 9 are Dharma houses. Purpose, meaning, alignment, the use of your unique gifts and talents that you were born with. That's 5th house talents. It was a hobby, no longer. Time to express that unique gift and talent, the thing that you came into this world already good at, and you could bring that into the light of day. This kind of next 7 years looks golden for that. But more importantly, the next 3 in particular, we do love Saturn giving you a 3-year lease on great gains in your career and the stabilization of long-term goals and dreams. Look every year for the September-October timeframe when you usually have Venus moving through Libra for 3 weeks. It changes every year, exact dates. You have to use an ephemeris, but every time Venus goes through your 5th house over the next 7 years, she's going to wake up Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini and give you an amazing glow up. You're going to feel like you are in love with life. Your purpose is unfolding before your very eyes. Certainly every time Venus goes through there, new love can emerge from foreign lands and distant shores, or you might find yourself having children or grandchildren At the same time, the house of grandchildren is your ninth house. The house of pregnancy and conception is your fifth house. So you're going to see exciting, unexpected opportunities for grandchildren to be born, or for your own, you or your partner to conceive children. But get that ready for the Uranian impulse. It comes unexpectedly. You didn't see it coming. Your kid said, I'm never going to have a kid. And your kid says, I'm never having kids. And then your kid gets pregnant, that kind of thing. Your adult kid, I hope. What about Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising? Well, we got Uranus moving into your 12th house. Just think about meditation, dreams at night, think about solitude, think about distant shores and far off lands, and maybe even think about ashrams. You could be very much incited to want to investigate your spiritual life. The Great Awakener is in the house of the full moksha, spiritual liberation. If that doesn't wake you up, nothing will. You want to find out what it felt like, talk to somebody who's already lived through it. Those are the Gemini folk. They went through that for 7 years before this. Now, one of the things about having a Uranus here is you can make money online on the internet from distant shores and foreign lands. And that could be very useful if you want to make revenue that's not local or it's not tied to structures that are limiting you. This speaks to me of digital nomad. Okay, I have a progressed Gemini sun. And starting in 2018, I became a digital nomad. Based on my solar progression, I was what you can become, more fluid in where you want to electrically generate money through the internet. With this energy of Pluto in your 8th house, it can activate inheritances out of the blue, spousal support monies, of course, a little shock and awe, maybe digging into the occult closet and finding some new esoteric mysteries that you want to apply to your career, because your Saturn is getting serious about your career, wants to achieve mastery and authority. And Neptune helps the vision and the goals become real in the career relative to the transformation that Pluto wants to acquire here. Pluto can bring great wealth in your 8th house. Your book royalty income, your residual income, your stock investments, something can take off. And certainly with Uranus, suddenly and unexpectedly. Having this energy of the 12th, 4th, and 8th house activated, our spiritual liberation houses. They're called moksha houses in Indian astrology. What it means is this is where you want to liberate from the matrix, unglue from your egoic identity, unglue from mom and dad and family of origin, cultural and tribe storylines. With Uranus activating your 4th house, 8th house, then you can move to another country, move far, far from home, live in another country. You can unhinge from your domicile, but also your homeland. Every year, every fall, kind of like usually September, October, Venus gets into her Libra, travels. Watch for it, sometimes even a little bit later, even into early November. It really depends. But as she tracks with the sun every fall, track her. She will go through Libra for about 3 weeks every fall, and she will wake up positive golden opportunities for you, hooking up with Pluto and Uranus to do with money, property, land, and real estate, resources, and far off lands and shores, as well as a potential of relocating to beautiful homes in far off places. Every fall, this opens up as a yay, also particularly auspicious for getting mortgages, securing bank loans, and leveraging your money every single fall. All right, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Having Uranus moving through your 11th house of good spirit is a place where you're going to change your friendship groups. There's no doubt about it. You thought you knew who you were hanging with? Forget it. A whole new cadre of original, inventive, outside the box friendships. He can disrupt your existing friendships. You might have a lot of electricity coming from a sibling, one older than you, one above you in chronological birth order. So that sibling can have a lot of, electricity, and it's focused on you in a positive way, called a sextile. Now, with Pluto in the 7th house, there can be some intensity regarding your long-term committed love relationship and some disruptive energy there. So watch for that as well, particularly, yes, over the next 7 years. It doesn't just get up and go away. However, if you are also working in any kind of social group setting or tribal belonging, you're leaning towards groups that are mystically or spiritually or belief philosophically oriented towards you. Saturn moving through your 9th house says lean into this kind of house of God to find more traditional sources of spiritual sustenance. Neptune says also visions and dreams come true. This can activate also great opportunities for great success and unexpected positive developments over the next 3 years in particular with university, college, and higher education, book publishing industries, and foreign lands and foreign shore travel, especially travel connected to or publishing deals connected to foreign industries, international revenue, allies, benefactors, and even an elder sibling. All right. And what about the triangle of air? Well, your air triangle is in your 11th house, your third house, and your seventh. This is going to activate your desire houses. These are called kama. And this is where what you desire in your life, your long range goals and visions and dreams, is radically changing. Who you wish to be with in one on one love is dramatically changing. And even the people you wish to hang out with on the daily. So you're kind of like, tossing everybody in the air and letting it settle and finding new groups of friendships, relationships, and daily everyday life encounters. The kinds of energies of socializing is changing. So the type of people you socialize with will change as well. But more importantly, or as importantly, all of these houses, 11, 3, and 7 can really get you in a deeper contact with some of your true desires. Uranus is in your long range planning, your wishes, your long range goals house. And so, no, those are massively changing over the next 6 years, 7 years. What you thought you wanted to, what you think you thought you were planning for, isn't what you're going to get. Going to be surprisingly different. Oh, and look for that every fall, probably September, October on average, when Venus is going to move every fall for 7 years through your third house. This indicates really exciting travel opportunities or possible shifts that are very positive in writing, communicating, marketing, and selling. And certainly Venus going through there on the regular can help you write things that are going to be very successful because you have Saturn in the publishing house for 3 years. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Uranus is in your 10th house of career. So you can't possibly imagine what your career will be because it's going to change. You need to talk to someone who's lived through that, which are the Virgos. Which are the Leos. They've already gone through this radical recreation of career since 2018 till now. And in fact, I know one woman who didn't have a career. She's been she went on to become a tantra teacher, sort of. Another one, person I know, retired from nursing and went into a bunch of other stuff, hands-on healing, Reiki and stuff. So there's a way that your career, like the Leos before you, is going to change. So for you to know what this is in the beginning is not likely going to happen. This is a testing this summer. So yeah, July 7th and November 7th, testing. What kind of radical career shifts am I looking for? Good for internet technology, inventive careers on the frontiers of some kind of like AI. That would be good for you. This is also a mini trine that's forming this summer. And of course, Pluto in your 6th house is like, we're going to transform the work we do, the service, the job. And then Saturn in the 8th house is, you could get some inheritance out of this, especially regarding father figures out of the blue this summer. But more deeply, Saturn is moving into your kind of esoteric occult mysteries, and Neptune is the visionary imagination. If any of you ever thought you wanted to pull off a career in like tarot reading or psychic work or something, this is your chance to say yes. This could be actually lucrative in the next few years, Virgos. Okay. Psychology belongs to the 8th house. A lot of like professional psychologists have planets there. If you wanted to go into a psychological or coaching or guiding others type of profession as well, this could also be a good shift for you. Certainly with Pluto there, you could get rich in your career, but you don't know what the transformation is. There's definitely career change. What about the triangle? It's an Artha triangle. We have Pluto in the work house. We have Uranus in the career and reputation, and we have every year Venus moving through Libra in your 2nd house, but other planets as well. Ultimately, this triangle becomes lit up for you. It's like a golden triangle of exciting changes in work, money, earnings, and prosperity. This is the big story, and it lasts for 7 years as this Uranus 10th house, Pluto 6th house, and then whatever moves through that Libra 2nd house on the regular gets profoundly awakened over the next 7 years. Wow, am I only halfway through? It is time for a water break. I shall be returning shortly. I'm not a sponsor of this black water, right? Black water, but it's funny, I'm drinking it today when today I record the Japanese astrology, the prediction for an earthquake near Japan. Anyway, it says serve chilled. I don't mind it non-chilled. It's full of all kinds of like magnesium, manganese, potassium, micronutrients, iron. Oh my God, really? Calcium, sodium, silicon? I didn't even know. Black water. All right, trace minerals. Let's continue, shall we? Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Well, Uranus is getting a lot of energy going on in that ninth house of God. And if you thought you had a religion, you're not going to keep it. This will destabilize any gurus, religious beliefs, or systems of philosophical understanding that you were adhering to. Won't be the same 7 years from now. Trust me. Big disruptions here. Breakthroughs as well. Great for book publishing industry people, great for international travel, great for work connected to international places. You'll notice that the energy of Pluto in the fifth house could power you up for success as an artist or an entrepreneur in the next, superpower you up as an artist or entrepreneur in the next 7 years. And book publishing industry with Uranus in the ninth house is particularly auspicious. With Saturn and Neptune in your seventh house, this is going to be very much about the kinds of audience and marketplace you're catering to, setting a new standard, new visions, new long-term strategies. Also, your marriage type relationships are there, longer committed love, Pluto transforming your romantic life, Saturn, Neptune really opening up a kind of way you want to be in relationship. Saturn is going to be serious and realistic, and Neptune is like the visionary, but also the illusional. So any parts of your long-term committed marriage, like storylines are, cohab, long-term commitment, monogamy, are going to be addressed for you over the next 7 years. With this energy activating Saturn in the seventh, those kinds of people show up in your life. So it depends on what your industry is or what you do, but you could get like directors in the movie industry, Saturn, Neptune. You see what I mean? So there's a way that you might attract Neptune, Saturn type folks. That's in the next 3 years when Saturn is still in your seventh house. All right. Always wanted to publish a YouTube channel, do it. That's Saturn and Neptune says YouTube. Saturn says long game in the house of the audience in the marketplace, that kind of vibe. Now, the air triangles are lifting up for you over the next 7 years. The air triangle of 9, 5, and 1. This trine or triangle is about your desires. Because you are at the middle of it, like you're Libra, you're going to want to pay attention to when Venus every fall, sometime usually September, October, enters into Libra for 3 weeks. And over the next 7 years, she keeps asking you to really go into what you desire. What you truly desire is a Venus question. This is the desire houses. You get to reassess your desires on the regular. Tick tock, tick tock. You are really rethinking your desires and finding out what it is you truly want, not what you think you want, but what is good and true. Now, love can come to you when Venus is here every year because she's going to wake up the love stories on twice, like every kind of March, April, and every like September, October, sometime around there for about 3 weeks. She goes through Aries, she goes through Libra, and you could fall madly in love with somebody new. And that would be so beautiful. So keep that story in mind in a way that's never been experienced as Neptune traveling through your seventh house brings twin flame, divine love, soulmate love, divine counterpart. And this is a new story for a kind of love you've never had. And in the next 7 years, Venus will on the regular, every spring and every fall, try to bring it for you. So look for love in new places and new ways that you've never ever encountered before. That's what I got for you. Scorpio, Uranus is moving through your eighth house of chunky money. Rags or riches, anybody? Shocking successes in the stock market, unexpected inheritances, chunks of money coming at you, or esoteric occult mysteries and knowledge, wisdom, illuminations, and flashes of insight. Kaboom, you got it. Now, this is a story that takes about 7 years to fulfill itself. You're testing the waters this summer, and Uranus is in that mini trine. It's going to be better next year, but it's testing you now. What do you want to do? Well, legacy wealth, Pluto in the fourth house, money from family of origin, wealth from your upline could come to you, mom, dad, their lineage somewhere up the line. Here comes a blast of money, could show up this summer. Even if you don't get the money this summer, you know that it may be coming to you. And what about this? Neptune Saturn combination makes your work hard. In the next 3 years, you're going to work very hard at your work. Neptune can also, though, help you succeed in work that involves music, photography, filmography, videography, Hollywood, the glamour, the modeling, the things that are Neptunian can be very successful for you. And you might be getting quite rich off of that with Uranus in the 8th house. So who would have thunk it? Now, we'll talk more about that story next year. What I want you to pay attention to now is how you got the air triangle all waking up. Houses 8, 12, and 4. 8, 12, and 4 are on fire. Well, actually, they're on air. And that's because these are the areas of life for 7 years that become electrocuted by Uranus. It can mean exciting, sudden, shocking changes of home that transform your life. It can mean exciting, shocking places to live that are far, far away from where you live now, a distant shore or an international and far off land. When Venus is moving through Libra every fall, August, September, sudden changes of home, excitement there, changes going to far off lands, generating revenue and income from borderless income, digital revenue, and far off places, and excitement. It's exciting. We want Venus in Libra for dignity. And so September, October, roughly for 3 weeks, somewhere in there. It changes every year. She kind of wakes up your electrical field of, the 8th house, the 4th house, and the 12th. This is really in play mostly next year. This is the trial run this year. Uranus leaves on November the 7th out of there and comes back again next year. So we're giving you a flavor of 7 years ahead. All right. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. I can't believe I'm talking this fast. I hope I'm not too fast for you. Slow me down. It's been a long day. It's sunny. I want to stop recording. One of the things you got to pay attention to if you care about your life is your love life, your significant romantic partnerships, your romance and commitment houses are activated. First of all, Uranus is in the marriage house, and you will attract outside the box, crazy ass lovers and romantic partners that are unlike anything you've ever seen before. You might want more freedom in your committed love stories, but forget that monogamy. Let's do polyamory. Let's do marriage sabbaticals. Let's try this and that. Let's go swinging. I don't know why people do that. I think it's really weird. But anyway, that's just my humble bias. But, you do you guys. And so all said and done, what I would say about this is you could find yourself engaging in unusual love stories with Neptune in your 5th house. Be careful for sexually transmitted diseases. He's going to be here actually for a while, and you could be very, very cautious here. Please do. He'll be here until 14 more years. But with Uranus, you'll be tempted to go into crazy ass relationships with people who may not be sexually safe for your health. Who knows? So be careful. Saturn is getting a very serious vibe here for you. And that serious vibe is going to last for 3 years. So you're probably not going to fall too badly into a wrong romance for you, but be cautious anyway. And Pluto in the 3rd house. So writing, communicating, marketing, and selling, experiencing radical viral hits with an audience or marketplace, and your creative and entrepreneurial pursuits becoming quite important to you. You want to make babies of some kind, but they're going to last. You want to do a book? No, you're doing a trilogy. You want to do a painting? You're doing a series of them. There's like a Saturnian impulse to the muse. You want to make it long lasting, long tail. You want to make it go the distance. You want to have it pioneer a bit as well. It's in Aries. This is a story, though, that is also about your triangle of air. Yes. 11, your 11th house of good spirit, of friends, groups, and allies and benefactors, and a sibling one older, and your greater gains of your career connected to writing, communicating, marketing, and selling, speaking, educating, learning, and teaching. 3rd house connected to outside the box, inventive, rebellious, crazy ass people in your life, whoever they are. This whole energy is awakening. Now, these houses are desire houses. What do you truly desire? You might get in touch with new friends, new romantic partners, new desires every single September, October, when Venus opens up a door through your 11th house. She's there for 3 weeks. Times vary, guys. Get an ephemeris. But, kind of like September, October, sometimes even maybe late August. But anyway, Venus wakes up your 11th house, and you will have exciting new friends enter your life, exciting new love stories coming through groups of belonging and friendship circles, going on that blind date and having something amazing happen. It's really good as well for greater career gains every fall, connected to writing, teaching, publishing, and traveling. So that's stories that you live with for 7 years. And every time this gets activated by Venus, you should expect some good juice every time she moves through Libra. Only 3 weeks every 9.5, 10 months, but it's worth watching out for. All right, Cappies, this is Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So Uranus has gone into your 6th house. It is going to be there, right, for 7 years. This is testing the waters till November 7th. And it's going to activate a lot of excitement and exhilaration around, work, job, career, like the workspace, the employer-employee stories, pets, rental opportunities, debts, unexpected opportunities to change where you live connected to rental and lease agreements over the next 7 years. Unexpected pet stories. Oh my God, I didn't want a pet. Here's a pet. Unexpected, exciting, exhilarating opportunities to eliminate financial debts or to have a debt that's owed you come back out of the blue. Especially, debts that are owed you. And exhilarating and exciting and out of the box 6th house stories can be to do with the kind of people you would employ. You're employing inventive, rebellious, and outside the box types of employees. Making money through Iranian means, AI technology, the internet, cutting edge invention and technology. Pluto in your 2nd house brings wealth. You'll be more wealthy than you've ever known if you take this sky and use it properly in the next 7 years. But you have to work for it, right? Because that's where Pluto is. It's in an earnings, resources, savings part of the sky. And indeed, houses 2 and 6 and 10 are Artha, work and resources and material prosperity. And so this is a focus of exciting, electrifying change. You will find yourself engaged in more experiences of making money in ways that are new to you. I would wonder with, Saturn, Neptune in the 4th house in the short term, this summer through to November. Well, it's not all that, but it's sort of that. You could be finding yourself, really having some, July, August, September, exciting opportunities to change your home, connected to rentals or money or unexpected prosperity or sudden money that eliminates the debt or money owed to you coming back to you, that kind of thing. That could be cool this summer for some Capricorns. With this energy here of the 10th house activation, right, as a theme, it's receiving energy from Uranus and Pluto, then you could find yourself really successful when Venus moves through Libra. And in general, it's usually kind of a fall thing, right? September, October. She's got to be close to that sun, a couple signs away at most. And so look for that transit, get an ephemeris, follow the astrology, because when she moves to your 10th house every year, then you're going to have a career glow up and a money glow up and a work glow up. Right? Prosperity, money, career, and maybe celebrity or fame or success could come off of that as well. So look for that Venus transit on the regular through your 10th house for about 3 weeks every 10, 11 months, because it can really love you up, really open up some new opportunities for success in the career area of your life. Oh, radical dietary changes that transform your life will happen in the next 7 years. Forget that vegan thing. Forget that. Whatever you thought was going to work. No. That's going to change as well. Your health depends on it. Yes. Hey, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. I am one of you. I'm Aquarius rising. It is a story where Uranus is in our 5th house, and this is a house of romantic love, sexual love, and children, certainly pregnancy. So you could have unexpected pregnancy, unexpected grandchildren coming because it trines the 9th house of grandchildren. Uranus here can bring radical, exciting new ways to be creative and entrepreneurial, AI, new technology, new insights, and radical inventiveness and originality in your natural gifts and talents being expressed in the world. Where Uranus goes, he brings the internet. And so if you haven't used your natural gifts and talents or entrepreneurial creative skills yet, this could bring you more internet focus with those matters. Neptune is moving with Saturn through your 3rd house. That's the internet too. That's the social media platforms. Neptune represents all videography platforms that give you moving imagery. You could have some radical, exciting successes going viral. That could even happen this summer, July, August, September. And Saturn gives you long game results. that lasts up to 3 years, right, from now, where he's moving through your third house, giving you stability, concrete form, and long game strategy. With Pluto in your first house, you are transforming yourself, your identity, your Aquarius sun, your career is changing dramatically. Aquarius moon, your home and home life. But Aquarius rising, your identity is changing. You are becoming a vessel for a larger force of divine willpower to move through you. You are becoming Plutonianized or deputized by Pluto. So your life is becoming such a larger than yourself vibration, and you can be authoritative, powerful, transformational, regenerative. But watch, you're not dictatorial, authoritarian, and an a-hole. That's the downside of that story. Well, what about the triangle? The air triangle is houses 1, 5, and 9. And that triangle is going to light you up in your Dharma. What is Dharma? Your purpose, your gifts, your talents aligned to a true purpose, moving in alignment with the Tao. What are you here for? Well, you're going to try to figure that out. You're truly moving into an alignment with your true reason for being here over the next 7 years. Book publishing, Libra 9th house, Libra library book. I'm writing damn right that first astrology book for you guys. Okay. And honestly, any kind of book. You can write any kind of book. With Saturn, it would be astrology. With Neptune, it would be fantasy and fiction, or do both. But you're writing, communicating, marketing, and selling is a game in the next 3 years, but particularly for the next 7 years, teaching, traveling internationally, being an international force, and or publishing books or Substack, who knows, are tour de force energy for Aquarians. It is time to lean in. With Venus in your 9th house by transit every single year, usually late August, September into October. It depends. Each year it's different. You watch that transit chart because she'll activate blessings for you in the Dharma 9th house. This can bring you spiritual teachers that are female, new traditions of feminine divine wisdom as well. And it's opening up, of course, that muse, the creativity, the art, the entrepreneurial, the fun, the joy, the erratic breaking through in your love life, guys. Forget it. Uranus is here. You know, I watched, you want to talk about that, go talk to a Capricorn. Like, well, I got my Capricorn polyamory client. I got my Capricorn, marriage sabbatical. I've got my Capricorn, all these Cappies I know have gone through this kind of like, my sex life is completely different than it was for most of my life. My romantic inclinations are different. My creativity has changed. That's what they've already live through. Now it's your turn. So you probably can't expect yourself to stay with the same old ways you've done it before. Yeah. So look for new ways to be loving, in love, to express your sexual romantic energy, as well as your creative and procreative. You could be unexpectedly pregnant, and your partner could be, and or you could have unexpected, sudden, shocking surprises as grandkids are popping up out of the blue, and that's another story over the next 7 years. So get ready for that. Rel, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Never last, never least, best and always best. I love your mystic poet nature. And in the sky here, you're going to experience a new feeling. It's Uranus in the 4th house. Go talk to an Aquarian like me. It started in 2018 for us Aquariuses, and we had digital nomad lives, or we didn't stay put. We kept having these like shocking disturbances to where we lived. Landlord's selling the house. Landlord's selling the house. Again, I'm going through that one again. My daughter needs to be in Montreal. She's distraught. Whatever. I moved so many times since 2018. My head is spinning. It really is. So do not expect to land Pisces rising, especially sun and moon secondarily, in one place. You will not stay put over the next 7 years. Now, with Uranus in the 4th house, it can be unexpected, shocking surprises from your childhood. That means people you knew when you were a childhood, your family of origin, your parents, your mother, your family line, shock, surprise, revelation, and revolution. Uranus down here is going to be a guy who wants to make your midnight hour electric. So you might find yourself doing things like the internet at home. When Uranus moved into 2018 into my 4th house, I started my YouTube channel in earnest. I got viral. I went viral on my YouTube channel. It wasn't about astrology back then. It was about the Mandela effect and other stuff, but it went viral. For me, it was like, what the heck? Out of the blue, I've got tons and tons of followers. And that could happen. You could do something on the internet that can take off in the next 7 years. You might notice that Pluto is being trined and he's up there in your 12th, international digital borderless income and revenue from the internet at home. That's your code for the next 7 years. Get your act together and use it. Neptune as is the videography platforms in the second house of earnings. Use Instagram Reels, videography, use AI tech if you want, but get online. It looks good on you. And I'll get into more of that in a minute. But Saturn in your second house also says, be diligent, sober-minded, and realistic in the next 3 years to save and earn and find long strategies for financial success. You could be a musician, a photographer, a filmmaker, a glamour model. These are things, music industry that Neptune rules, Hollywood. These are ways and means that Neptune wants to help you for 14 years. But it is this 7 years that he's working with Uranus. So exciting times for a lot of Pisces. If you wanted to dabble in new ways of earning money that are Neptunian, please do it. It would be very successful with Pluto, giving you also a lot of power behind the scene, the treasure chest of power behind the scenes. Anything you do in solitude and at home can be very profitable in the next 7 years, and sudden exciting ways as well. Uranus always brings sudden surges of unexpected things. And with trying to Pluto, it's wealth. So yeah. The air triangle is up and running. It's houses 4, 8, and 12. It's called liberation, moksha, enlightenment. It's really a deeper layer of reality underneath all of the material realm stories. Do you see yourself spiritually awakening? If you do, you liberate from mom, dad, culture, and tribe. And you, with Pluto, the full Monty, Buddhahood, Jesus walking on water, going a little distance there, kaboom. Pluto moving through your 12th house is an enlightenment transit. Aquarians went through it. I wrote the Awakened Dreamer blog based on that transit, and I had multiple spiritual awakenings. So you are now in that story. It's part of your world as well. Every time Venus moves, every kind of like on average, September or October, through your Libra 8th house, you can expect those 3 weeks to bring you some really good money stories, right? A money goddess, inner kingdom in the 8th house, kaboom. You could end up with a good chunk of money, a sudden opportunity to buy a property, sell a property, a sudden exciting foreign land revenue and digital income boost. So you're going to kind of maybe have these little windows of success in that chunky money narrative. Also getting all the money from a spousal separation, getting all the money from the inheritance. Surprise, surprise. These kinds of monies come to you. And I don't want to worry you, but widowhood monies too. Sorry, guys. Like, oh, look at me. I suddenly, I didn't know my husband had a multi-billion-dollar insurance policy, or my wife. I'm not worrying you. I know this is like general bell curve, but these chunks of money that belong to others coming to you in exciting and unexpected ways will be a story you're going to experience in the next 7 years. Okay. It's not just about the money you earn. If you're an occultist studying the magical mysteries of tarot and astrology, Venus continually bonifies that as she moves yearly through the 8th house. Remind you that you're not just a muggle. Use the magic, use your imagination, use your psychic gifts, use your astrological or tarot skills. Go for it. And that's what I've got for you. All right, guys. I cannot believe I did all these videos today. I finished recording the earthquake video. Now I did this front end, back end for the Renn Butler video that was recorded in May. Please go check out Renn Butler's website and all the information about signing up for his course on archetypal astrology. I think he's starting in October. My class starts in September. You can do both. Mine's a 6-week class. I focus on divine timing and prediction tools. He focuses on understanding your birth astrology, the archetypal astrology, psychedelics and astrology, dreaming and astrology. I think you'll enjoy that course. I really do it. I'll be sharing again him on my channel closer to the fall, but there's a really big discount price available till the end of July. It's really, I think it's only 600 US or something for like 22 classes. And I think that's really a low price. And that's the early bird price. And all the information is in the description box under my video. I usually do outros. And I don't know if I have any bandwidth for my outro today. This is a book that I just haven't started reading yet. And I opened it up in my earthquake video asking if what I thought was true, and it said it was, by the way. And I keep sharing this tool, but it's kind of fun. Open randomly with a question. So is it my highest and best good to write my astrology book, my book proposal for Eileen this summer, right? Just playing. She's my agent. What do I get? You are a businessman after all. Well, I am. I'm a businesswoman. That's so interesting. After I sent my initial letter, he promised he would compensate me for any information I could give him. Okay. So Yeah, Eileen reached out to me last May, but I've been too busy to do it. So I'm a businessman after all. So should I write my book proposal? Obviously, if I'm a good businesswoman, I would do it, right? So now I'm asking again. All voted in favor is what I landed on. The words are all voted in favor. So all the gods voted in favor of me writing that darn business proposal July and August. So have fun with that tool. I'll see you guys soon. Ciao, ciao. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all that good stuff. Thank you.